to the Black Health Report. This is Thabiti Umoja, your host, and today I'm going to deal with Black folks fighting off colonialism in Africa and fighting for Black freedom. Okay, if you notice, everybody has a landmass that they can call their own. If you run into a Chinese person, they have China. That's your land base. That's what gives you power. Then you have Japanese. They say Japan. That gives them some power, right? You see the Jewish population, Israel, right? That gives them power, some type of land base. But Africans, a lot here in America, consider ourselves Negroes or consider ourselves separate from Africa. And when you do that, you're a man in a whole little island sitting by yourself. And you have to realize that we have to connect not only with our culture, but connect with our people. That's what Malcolm was about. That's what Malcolm was doing. If a lot of you didn't read your history, understand your history, he was building that bridge from the continent to here. He was saying, instead of us buying all these clothes and buying all this furniture from everybody else, we can have the direct connect with the resources on the continent so we can do that ourselves. And so today, I am going to focus on some of the things that's going on in the continent and in some of the challenges that they're dealing with. And some of it has to do with Negroism, and we have to deal with it. I'm about unity, but in order for us to unify, if there's people in the middle, you know, if they have these minions in the middle that's actually keeping us from coming together, we have to address it. Isn't the first thing, if you have a problem, the first thing you want to do is identify what the problem is, right? And so that's what we're doing today. Also, I want to touch on something very important. What's going on in Palestine is outrageous, outrageous. It is not the most horrific thing that ever happened in the world. Obviously, the Black Holocaust is the biggest and the worst thing that ever happened to humankind, period. And we can do a whole show on that. I've done segments on that, on what happened to us and what's still going on with us. We have a lot of different genocides that have taken place over the years that we can address. And so as a people who have suffered genocide, I don't care if it's a genocide in Australia with the Tasmanian brothers and sisters. I don't care if we're talking about in Tanzania, where you had hundreds of thousands of people that have actually died through the hands of Germany, and as well as Namibia also had a Holocaust. There's a mini Holocaust. If you start looking and start reading, you'll see many situations where they just wipe out Black towns. So we should not be for this, and we should speak out against it. We should speak out against it because it's not right. And it throws me off when I saw a bunch of Africans that went to the continent, or excuse me, a bunch of Africans that went to Israel singing "We Shall Overcome" and was trying to say that Dr. King is standing in unison with what's going on. He would not stand for what's going on there. The brutality that's going on there, come on now, he would not be going for that. He would not be going for total destruction, mass bombing, and just killing of babies and women. And then what's so important is when we looked at the World Court, the International Court, one of the things that I really picked up in there was when it was breaking down how there, from the top to the bottom, there was conversation about killing the seed. The seed. That's genocide, and we should be against that. And it does not make you anti or not Black enough if you're talking about what's happening with people that are non-Black. Because matter of fact, for some of you who are maybe young or don't know, Black people have always we always stood with other people that have been oppressed. Those situations that have similar oppressors, we've always addressed those. We did not leave that alone. We weren't afraid to touch on to that. We never did that. That wasn't us. Matter of fact, when I was a student at Cal State Long Beach, I remember there was many demonstrations during the apartheid situation going on in South Africa in the 80s. And Palestinians were right there with us in the anti-apartheid demonstrations. And we were with them when trying to get them their freedom as far as in Palestine. And for at that time, it was the PLO. And we have to realize that what's happening right now over there, we're talking about Hamas, Hamas was actually created as a controlled opposition to the PLO. to get our Arafat out and all of that. And they successfully did that. But now it, turned into something else. And so we have to really look at the history of that. But as of right now, we have to support a ceasefire. We have to not only support a ceasefire, but also justice for what has happened. Whoever did whatever, there just has to be justice there. And at the same time, there has to be justice in that land. There has to be justice in the land. You can't talk about a person just being free, but there's no justice. You gotta. That's not real freedom if you don't have justice. So justice has to take place. So anyway, that's my speech for this morning on that. But I just want to I stand with the people in Palestine that's being killed, and I want to see peace in that region. I'm about peace. I've always been about that. Anybody that knows me know I've always been about peace. But we can't, and don't put Dr. King in that mix. And I'm seeing videos, people pushing it, they saying that he stands with it. He don't stand with that. We don't stand with that. And I appreciate those that have actually stood up and said that they don't stand with this. And I think it's real sad to see in the UN and using black hands, whether it's Woods or the other sister, putting their hand up saying that I don't support this measure that will cause a ceasefire. I no. Don't use a black hand for that. Don't use our hand for that. And I'm here to say that all of us here in America, we don't agree with what's going on in Palestine. We don't agree with what's going on the continent. We're in Niger, we're in Mali, Guinea-Bissau, Burkina Faso. Those people, those particular West African countries that say we want to be free. And you have other Negroes that are saying, well, Massa said you can't be free. You got to put this puppet back or we going to go to war with you. That kind of stuff. We have a problem with here in America, those that are conscious. And we stand with you. Those Africans that are in America that are conscious, we stand with you. And let's get on to our program with the Black Health Report. All right. All right, welcome back to the Black Health Report studio. We're going to go ahead and get going with this presentation. Like I said, we're going to be focusing on Africa's fight for freedom. I know a lot of you have been watching the news, you've been seeing what's going on around the world, and you notice that Africa is really making a really strong effort to have freedom. What's wrong with Black people having something of our own, to be free, not to be under someone else's thumb? We need that. And we're talking about Africa fighting for their freedom. There's two main problems. One, obviously, is colonialism, because the natural resources that's on the continent that could be actually helping make these countries actually not only give them enough money to take care of themselves, but they can actually feed all of Africa or provide for all of Africa if they were actually able to control their own resources. And this is part of the problem. The other thing is the issue at the bottom there where I talk about a neutral Negro. Well, a neutral Negro is a partner in crime. I mean, a neutral Negro is the best way to describe is someone who actually is a minion in the middle and standing in front of their own people's freedom. If they're trying to get freedom, they always use one of us to be able to put barriers there. And this is something we're going to be talking about. And I know here in America, I know we have different perspectives on Negro. It might be that one that that brother, that sister that wears a dashiki 28 days in February. But you let March 1st come in, they may not even speak to you, right? Yeah, yeah. During the February, during those 28 days in the morning, they'll say, "Oh, what's up, my brother? What's up, my sister?" And then March or April, March 1st comes. Good morning. Good morning. Hi. They may even wave to you, But anyway, Anyway, that's kind of what we talk about a Negro. This actually neutral Negro I'm talking about here is someone who actually is a minion in the middle that keeps progress from going on. And so in Africa, when Africa's trying to be free, you're going to have those that are going to step in that role. Let's go ahead and look at that. So this neutral Negro, the best way I can describe it, it's like if you have a car, it's in neutral. You can put your foot on the gas as much as you want. It's going to make a bunch of noise, but it's going to take you nowhere. And that's what we're dealing with in our communities. We got people showing up, making a bunch of noise, but taking us nowhere. Okay. And so what's happening on the continent? Well, you have four countries that actually have either been suspended or left ECOWAS, which is the economic group. And we're talking about Mali. We're talking about, let's go back to that slide. We're talking about Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, and Guinea. And they all have had coups where they actually kicked out their particular president. And a lot of people say, well, these people are wild, that they need to come in and restore that. But why? Did we ever ask the question, why did they kick out their leaders? What were they actually doing? Were they actually helping their country, or were they hurting their country? And so we're going to get into that. We're going to focus, first of all, on Niger. They're getting a lot of the heat because they kicked France out. And Niger is one of the largest uranium producers in the entire world. So you'd think they'll be rich, right? And that's what provides us with electricity, right? Lights, that we got right now. Well, in Niger, only 18% of the people have electricity. Why is this? How can you be one of the largest producers of uranium in the entire world, but you don't have the ability to use your own resources? Well, between France and also Spain, and this was as of 2021, before all these coups and everything, they were controlling 70% of the uranium. It was going to Europe while everybody's in the dark. So they were only controlling 30%. And you can see the number of nuclear reactors in the world. You see USA is number one, France number two, China number three. But you can see France. They were actually taking a lot of the uranium out of Africa. And see, this is the problem. Look at Niger. Look at how the people are living. And you're one of the largest producers of uranium in the entire world. The president should be shamed on himself. That's why these particular presidents, and look at the classrooms. It doesn't look like there's even lights in there. It looks like they're depending on the sun coming through the windows. And look at the chalkboard. I remember that chalkboard many years ago. And look at the GDP. And in simple terms, GDP is a total amount of money made by all citizens of a country. And per capita is the average made by each person. United States has 23.32 trillion is their GDP every year. It's our GDP every year. 23.3 trillion is what everyone pulls into together. Now, independently, per share, 76,329 is the U.S. GDP per capita. So each person produces about 76,000. Remember that amount. Look at Niger. Niger, their GDP is 35 billion. Okay, as a whole, that's what they actually collectively make for that particular country. Now, what about individually? Remember, ours is 76,000, a little over 76,000. Theirs is $631 a year. So you can see why people are poor. But why, when you're one of the largest producers of uranium, and you actually have a lot of oil too? Okay, well, this is the president that was ousted. July 26, 2023, a military junta in Nigeria placed President Bazoum under house arrest. And so then this was the brother that they actually took over and put in charge, Chiani. And he became the president. And actually, this was July 28, 2023. He announced himself as leader of the National Council. What happens 5 days later? Well, this Negro and Nigeria president turns off the electricity that they were actually getting from Nigeria. So they had their own electric, but they needed to buy because a lot of that's going to other countries. And this is Tinubu, the president of Nigeria, that was not only got mad because of that, but he was also threatening war against Niger if they didn't put the puppet back in power. And he has a questionable past. You can read this on your own. It's a matter of record. He has some dealings in Indiana, Chicago area where there was drug trafficking going through his accounts and things like that. But he was able to become president of Nigeria later. Okay. And so this is the guy that was ousted under house arrest, Mohammed Bazoum. How can you have a country and having your people living the way you're living and all of these resources? Everybody's got their hand in your resources while the people are poor and starving and living in these looks like huts in 2024. Look at that. So this is why you have people saying, well, we can do better. Now, this is the oil that Niger has. Now, there was actually pipes that were actually going to be run through Chad that could have brought in $5 billion, but Chad said you can't do it. They had some problems there. So then they went to Benin. They were working with them to run it through Benin into to be able to get to the sea. Well, initially Benin said no. Then they said, well, think about it. And the last report I saw, Niger actually agreed to let this not 90,000 barrels a day, and this would have brought Niger 7.5 billion if it was just on their own. But okay, so this is the route of Chad. If they were going to run through Chad here, and they already have the lines that can run it and get straight into the to the sea. They already got that going on. So what happened is Chad would not allow them to do that, so they had a little problem with them. So they then went and said, "Well, we'll go to Niger, so they can just send it straight here and straight through Benin." And right here is Nigeria. Nigeria won't obviously let them go through. They had an issue with them not wanting to put the puppet back in power. So anyway, they were going through Benin. Benin has joined ECOWAS as well. They initially said no, they wouldn't do it. But then I guess something was worked out recently, and Niger agreed to a deal I think is not really a good one. It's not a good deal because of the fact that if you look at how much money that they're going to make, if they were able to get this, I know that you're going to probably pay some of these countries just for the building the lines through their country or whatever have you, something, but not what they're going to be doing. They're pulling in 7.5 billion a year if they were allowed to get through Benin to get to the sea. Now look at what Benin is going to charge them. Instead of them making 7.5 billion, guess how much Niger is going to make just to get entry, to get through? 1.9 billion. They're only going to get 25.4% of their own oil to get it out. And so others are getting up. I guess Chinese will probably be building the pipes. I don't know how much they're going to get. And then also Benin. And then so anyway, Niger's only going to get 25.4% because remember these particular countries are landlocked. And you can say everybody's trying to get to the Atlantic Ocean to do some trade. Look at the GDP per capita in Guinea, not even 2,000 a year. Look at Burkina Faso, a little less than $900 a year. So you can see why these people want change in their leadership. And this right here is a good sign. Brother King the Sixth out of Morocco said any of these countries that are landlocked, they can come through his country. Okay, and this is an initiative that he proposed. And so it's good to see that type of cooperation amongst our people because this is what we need. We need that cooperation. We don't need people blocking when we're trying to get things through. All right. Thank you, family, for listening. And I'm going to do a part 2 pretty soon. So we need to keep our mind on the continent. And remember, We are Africans in America. Uh, I care about black people. I don't care where you are. If you're on the continent, you're in the islands, South America, North America, wherever our people are. We need freedom. We need respect. If black lives really mattered, the continent of Africa would be free. Wouldn't be dependent on other people. Wouldn't be living like those pictures we've seen. There's nowhere in the world with all of the rich resources on the continent people should be poor. Until next time, one love. Actually, the artist, his name is Kalonji. Brother does some beautiful work. And here's his contact. If you want to check out what the type of artwork he has.